Welcome everyone, Dylan Gemelli here today with a brand new video for you, and today we are going to get into SARM's trade names. I want to discuss with you all the different trade names out there because I know that a lot of the newer SARMs don't really get talked about and you never see a trade name for them or an acronym, just pseudonyms that you can call it by, alright? So just another name, kind of like with Equipoise and Boldenone, same deal, right? Decanandrolone. So that's what we're going to kind of talk about today. But before we get into that, very quickly, huge shout out and thank you. You guys are absolutely amazing. The support, all of the likes, the subs, all of your comments, your emails, everything. Listen, I remember all of it, and I absolutely cannot express my gratitude to all of you. If you haven't yet, please subscribe, click like, leave a comment, share. Make sure when you subscribe, you click that bell icon, whatever you can do to help me rebuild this channel, and I will pay you back tenfold with the best information on the planet. So, a lot of these names you're going to be familiar with SARMs, and a lot of them you may not be. All right, so I'm going to work my way down. We're going to mix in old and new, and I just want to make sure that everybody is, up to date with all the different names. So I'm going to start with GW501516. Many of you know that is known as Cardarine. That's generally the main name that you're going to get associated with it. There's some different names out there that some people that made supplements would call it, but SARMs are not sold as supplements. They never should have been, and so we're going to stick with the Cardarine name. S4, also known as Andorin, and that's been known since, well, 2012, 2013, when we started talking about it back then. Say Cardarine a little bit after, but these are older school. More people are going to be familiar with ones like this, especially, but S4, Andorin. Now, GW0742, also known as Lipoline. Lipoline, Lipoline. And, you can see there with lipolysis being fat burning. That's probably where that is derived from, and it kind of makes sense. SR9011, Metabol, METABOL, clearly has to do with metabolic, being that, SR is known for helping with somebody's metabolism and correcting any sort of metabolic issues. And so that clearly is where that is derived from. ACP105, also known as Vasculine, VASCULINE, and one would assume that has to do with all of the muscle hardening and the vascularity that you're going to experience while using ACP105, so that makes perfect sense. LGD3303, also known as Megabolic. Well, LGD33 is well known as being one of the strongest bulking SARMs that you can run, so I think that's very self-explanatory. YK11, also known as Myobol. That is MYOBOL, and one can only assume that has to do with it being a myostatin inhibitor, so that kind of makes plenty of sense as well. Then we have S23, also known as Ultrabolic. Well, I don't really think that needs much of an explanation, being that S23 is basically known as a steroid, and in the SARMs world, that would make it pretty ultra in my eyes, so that kind of goes hand in hand. RAD150, also known as Sustolone. My assumption there is that it has to do with Sustanon being a testosterone ester, and we all know that the RADs were created or thought to have been a replacement for TRT, and even though they're definitely not, there are a lot of similarities with, using testosterone, one could say, and so I'm assuming that's where that comes from. MK677, Ibutamorin, and Nutribol, those are well-known names for both, so there you go on that. RAD140, another well-known, also known as Testolone, and that has quickly become, like I have said many of times, the most popular, basically king of SARMs, and I actually dedicated an entire video to RAD150, the king of SARMs. So, that's a well-known one. Then we've got SR9009. That's been known as Stenabolic since its inception. LGD4033. anabolicum, and I think that's self-explanatory too. And that's been well known since it started. But you know, it being very, very strong and powerful, making it sort of like an anabolic. So that's pretty simple to see where that was probably derived from. Now, MK2866 has a variety of names. I just went with the two most popular, and that is Ostarine. Most people actually just call it Ostarine, really don't call it MK2866 anymore. I would say more people call it Ostarine than MK. A lot of the old schoolers like me, I stick more so with calling it just what it is, and I tend to do that, but that's probably just the old school in me, even though I'm not that old. I was studying these and talking about these well before it was mainstream, and so I don't know, old habits, I guess. But Ostabolic is another one widely used. Embosarm's one that's out there. I mean, there's a ton of different names out there for it, but generally Ostarine and Ostabolic are the ones that you're going to see more so than anything else. So that's just a breakdown of all the SARM's trade names. So that way, if you're wanting to look them up and find them, you can have different methods of looking them up for different modes of information, because the people that use those trade names, you'll find probably more in-depth information because they actually have all of those names on hand, and so they probably study quite a significant amount. It's not a guarantee, but it's good search terms to look around and kind of roll with. So wanted to educate everybody. I like to give everybody as much insight on everything and expand your knowledge base as much as humanly possible. I am one that truly feels that you can never know too much, but always know too little. I've been saying that for a very long time. Some people think I know a lot. I think in my, profession or my area that I know a pretty good amount, but I treat myself as if I don't know jack shit. Because then you're constantly motivated to learn more and learn more. And let's face it, and a lot in this line of just the world in general, when we're talking about health, fitness, PEDs, supplements, whatever, people are constantly looking for an edge, constantly looking for something new. There's new studies, there's new methods, there's new testing, there's new ideas. So it's like if you played a sport and you were, an elite player in basketball, and you just stopped practicing and stopped shooting and stopped dribbling, everybody's going to catch you and pass you, and that's the last thing that I want. Not that I'm in an elite level by any means, and that's not what I'm saying. Trust me, because I don't look at myself in that way. But if I want to stay as somebody that you guys trust, which I really truly feel that you do and should, and somebody that that when I speak that you can take it to heart on what I'm saying, and anytime I've ever been wrong or something new comes out or one of my beliefs changed or I experienced something different, shit, I made a video apologizing to Anavar, a non-existent compound that I felt the need to apologize to because I was just flat-ass wrong. So it takes all of these things to build yourself up. And my point is I never stop learning, I never stop reading, and I will constantly provide that for all of you. So that being said, stay tuned for plenty more to come. Dylan Gemelli, signing off.